Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to Halloween Horror Month. Today, we're doing one of my only revisited reviews for this month, The Gate. Viewed this a couple years back, and I figured it was time for a revisit, especially since I'm also going to be covering the sequel. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But The Gate is classic 80s horror film. This is one of the essential 80s horror films you need to look up. You got Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I would suggest part 4. If you want to watch the first one, that's fine. The Gate is on there. You get Reanimator and all those other ones. The Gate is one of those 80s horror movies you should check out. It's only PG-13, but you wouldn't think that. I found this on one of my late night movie watches as a teenager. Yes, there was something wrong with the cable box, the power had gone out or something. So I knew what channels to go to, but I didn't know what was on. So this movie was playing, and all I remembered was the movie where the kid had an eyeball in his hand. That's what it was. Years later, while searching it up, I found it was called The Gate. That's right. And it was on like late night on this one time. The channel was called this. Still a thing. And yeah, it is to me an essential 80s horror film to watch. You know, this would be one I recommend to watch too. You can even show it to, it's like if I had a DVD of this, I would show my son. But like, you have to be eventually, and we're able to be somewhere where there's a Blu-ray player. You know, The Gate is one I'll show him. Hell, I'll even show him this one because I mean, it's rated R, which is weird. We'll get to that. But yeah, the film is directed by, and if I'm saying this wrong, Tibor Tukac. And it stars Stephen Dorff as Glenn, Louis Tripp as his best friend Terry, and Krista Denton as his brother Alex, or his sister Alex, or Al. And the plot is that an incident happens where lightning strikes and they end up finding a hole in Glenn's backyard. The parents go out of town because it's an 80s horror movie, and shit goes down with evil creatures and demons and all that shit going down in this movie. So yeah, this came out in 1987, which of course is the year of my birth. It took 3 years for a sequel to materialize. But we'll talk about that in the next video. Because, man, there's such a big difference, and it does need to be. Anyway, I like this opening scene because it's Glenn. He's coming home from somewhere. Stephen Dorff, little 13-year-old Stephen Dorff. He walks in. He's looking around. There's no one home. A bunch of food on the table and everything. No one's there. And then, like, lightning strikes, and he wakes up, he's in his bed, and it turns out lightning actually struck his treehouse and a tree, and that completely destroyed it. So, you know, there's construction workers out there trying to fix it. He and his friend Terry, they find a broken geode, which Terry says they gotta find a real one because it could be worth a lot of money. So they start digging, and they end up finding like a hole in the ground, which is the titular gate. Although it looks more like a pit, but there was already a movie called The Pit, so yeah. And they do find a full geode, which, you know, is something. We do find out from exposition delivered by Glenn's dad, that Terry is raised by a single father. His mother died about a year ago. So he's kind of going through all that. Parents then go out of town, leaving Al in charge, and they say, no parties. Smash cut to them having a party. Yeah. Just smash cut to them having a party. Well, Glenn and Terry are upstairs looking over stuff in the geode and everything and seeing these weird moth things. The teenagers are downstairs partying, you know, smoking, drinking, all that stuff the 80s teens would do. The 80s, man, what are you gonna do? And then they decide to perform this levitation trick with Glenn would actually works. He even breaks the freaking ceiling light. But that's what they do, right? And that set up to something. The next day, Terry comes home. His dad's not there, of course. And he starts listening to this rock and roll album. You know, the 80s, they said rock and roll albums. That's the devil. That's the devil. You do the thing where you go backwards and it says stuff. Well, you didn't have to go backwards for this, because apparently, in the middle of a freaking song, this band starts throwing out this curse of sorts, or a warning or something about demons coming through a hole that alerts Terry, tries to tell Glenn. What I don't like is there are times in this movie where they do it twice. They do we're going to seal it up, and that's it. And then stuff happens, and oh no, it's over now, and then stuff happens. They do it twice. Yeah. So Terry stays over again, or is it? I think it's the first night actually, isn't it? I think it's the night before where Terry stays over and he sees a vision of his dead mother, but then it turns out to be the dog. The dog was killed by. They say it's old age. I always thought it was the demons, but I think old age, I guess. Glenn says he was 93. That's dog years, right? Like that's human years. So what would it be here? I don't know if 7 equals 93 at all. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But yeah, the dog's dead, and then one of the boys that Al brought over is supposed to take him to where? A morgue or something? But they're closed. So he throws him in the hole in the backyard, which actually starts the sacrifice. Which makes me wonder why did Terry see his mom's ghost then? Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's how it all starts. And to assume the levitation was actually how it started, I'm guessing. Excuse me. I don't know. So yeah. And so he puts the dog in there, and then they decide they're going to do this ritual thing where they use the Bible to close it or something. No, that's later the Bible, but here they start doing something. They throw out stuff and they think that it worked. We know it didn't work, but then Al's friends show up, and one of them has a weird thing where her hair is just poofy in the front. It's like regular, but it's like someone sneezed or something. I don't know. Then the shit goes down. I should also mention that Glenn has a thing for rockets. He mentions one at the beginning, but like it's brought up, but he doesn't use it. He has a thing for rockets. He likes rockets, right? So she buys him a rocket to make up for what happened and everything, and the dog and all that. But they're not able to do anything because, you know, her friends come over and take over her time. It's a typical big sister not having time. Big sibling not having time for the younger sibling. Terry is there, though. Not that it matters. But, yeah. Then the shit goes down. Like, they start hearing weird things. Right. At one point, I think it's before the final act, though. Isn't it? It is kind of slow-paced in a way. Like, maybe it's not before that. Because weird shit starts to happen. And Terry falls in the gate again. Because his foot goes through when they're digging. He falls in, and we see the little creature thingies. He's stepping on anything. One of them bites Glenn at some point. No, it's not one of those. But he falls through, but he's pulled back out. And this is when they try to use the Bible to close it. And they think they did it, but we still got time left. Like, there's still time left. Like, this movie is 85 minutes. It's not a lot. Like, they think everything is done. They go in the house, the friends are there, the boys are there for some reason. I want to say, no, I think when stuff starts to happen the first time, they try to leave. I gotta say this is before that. They try to leave, and they see their parents outside. I think their parents are back, but it's not. They're evil demons. You bit bad, and like claws at him, and his face like melts apart. Kind of like that scene in Poltergeist where the dude ripping his face off. That's PG. It's PG-13. Mom's head rolls forward. It's also they go back in the house and they can go after him. I think that's before. I definitely think that's before. And then they try to seal it with the Bible and everything. And then shit happens. They're watching TV. At the beginning of the movie, Terry says that there was like a workman that got buried in the walls. And he busts through, grabs Terry, taking him into hell. And then Terry becomes this weird creature. Bites Glenn on the hand, which causes the eyeball to show up. And then Al is also taken at this point. So both of his friends are gone. And he's on his own now for the final part of this film. Because the sister's friends are gone and the boys are gone. So, yeah. The whole final part is him. And by the end of this, he's just done. He wants his sister back. He wants his friend back. There's this weird tornado. So they say, because they need one sacrifice to start it. That doesn't matter if it's human or not. That was the dog. Now they need 2 human sacrifices. They got Terry and Al. So the whole world is in. There's this tornado thing, and then Glenn sees this big Harryhausen-like creature pops out of the middle of his house. This is where Rocket Ex Machina shows up, and he fires the rocket, a symbol of love from his sister, into the creature, which negates everything. And it is kind of sad because everyone is gone and Glenn is by himself. Until they just both pop up in the closet and it's like, hey, look, they're alive, they're fine. We don't see the parents again. After the beginning of the movie, they're just gone. But they all hug and embrace, and yeah, movie's over. Yeah. The effects in this, okay? I always assumed this was rated R, but look at it, it's PG-13. It's PG-13. The effects in this make it otherwise. And when I first saw it, I thought I was in trouble. I'm like, this is rated R. I believe I was underage at the time. It's PG-13. Again, because the cable box is mixed up, I couldn't tell. No, it was PG-13. But it's done really well. The effects, they're stop motion. Which you're going to have, and I've said this before, stop motion can't age badly because it's always going to look the same. Because it's always done the same way. Moving stop motion stuff. Go motion is a little bit iffy, but stop motion will never look bad to me because it's never going to age. You know what I mean? Done pretty well. Stephen Dorff has to carry the back part of this movie, the last 15 minutes at least, all by himself, and he does that. Once his sister and his friend are taken, he's by himself, and he's really good. I do think that the older sister trope is a bit overdone at this point. Oh, this is the 80s when that was a high point for that, but or the neglected older sibling, like in E.T., the older brother is a little bit, he just sort of, I think whatever he thinks, sort of gaslights him in a way. I'm like, gaslighting is a word, but yeah, the older sibling just sort of not, ignoring the younger sibling to a point until E.T. comes along, then, and once this starts, again, much like E.T., shit goes down, And this is very much in that kind of genre of kids finding something weird in their backyard, like E.T. This is a little more scathing at, but it works. Absentee parents, it's like they have to have parents, but how do you write them out? Well, they're going on a trip and they'll be gone. That's what we need the jump scare thing, the evil parents. And then Terry's dad is just absentee. We find out in the second film he's a pilot, so maybe he was just flying a plane or something. I don't know. I also thought that the sister's friends were a bit too much. Like, the two girls were fine, but like the boys, when they have the party, that's fine. But then when they go in and they're like, after the second, oh, we're all safe now. The girls are there, and then the boys just pop up out of a closet. Like, how long have you been there? And did you see what was going on in the backyard? I don't. It's a little. And the ending seems a little too wrapped up. Like, the sister and the friend are back, and the dog are now all still alive, even though they were all sacrificed to this thing. And when they explain that the dog died of old age, and not by the creatures as I always assumed, how was the dog still alive then? If the dog died from old age, and then was thrown into the pit, I could see if something happened and the dog was chasing something and he fell into the gate or something. But he was already dead when he was thrown in. That doesn't really make much sense to me. Special effects in this, besides the mega effects, are really good. I mean, the mega effects are good, but I already talked about those. The mega effects, the scraping and the thing, like I said, reminds me of Poltergeist, and just the head rolling, and there's, the way that the dead workman looks, you've been bad, the phone calls and everything, lighting on fire and shit, and then like the lightning effects, and like I said, the freaking stop motion stuff is good. It's all really good, you know what I mean? All well done to me. You know what? For that, I have to send the gate to the moon. That's right, it's going to the moon. This movie is great. I probably could have got away with it pretty good because the ending's a little too minute, but it's to the moon. It's a great film and I recommend it. To me, it's essential 80s horror. When I think of 80s horror, give me 10 80s horror movies to watch. Alright. Friday the 13th Part 4, final chapter. Okay. Central horror movies, non-sequels. We do that. Nightmare on Elm Street. Reanimator. From Beyond. Return of the Living Dead. Day of the Dead. You don't really need to see the other two for that either because they're not really connected. Day of the Dead. What else is there? Besides this, we'll get to it. I would say hold on a minute. Let me look. Child's Play. The Burning. Yes, I put The Burning on there. More essential than the first Friday the 13th. There, right there. Burning. House. That's right. House. William Cat. Night of the Creeps. And of course, The Gate. You could also replace one of those, like maybe, I don't know, replace House with John Carpenter's The Thing. That's another one. Probably John Carpenter's Thing over House. I love House though. But yeah, To the Moon. Yes, and it did spawn a sequel that talk about tomorrow. Until then, what are your thoughts on the gate? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one. Forgot to grab the thing.